Now, this one shouldn't be too much of a hard sell. Probably one of the more obvious videos I've done in a while. Why Bobby Lashley needs to become WWE Champion, and preferably sometime in maybe next Monday. Seems quite right. He's got a WWE Championship match with The Miz, completely destroyed him on Raw, holding the championship as the show ended last week. It is looking like Bobby Lashley is the Bobby Lashley that we expected to see from when he debuted in WWE in 2005. And of course, you look back through Bobby Lashley's career as well, he has been a dominant force throughout his career, but never quite got to the pinnacle, to the top, to the main event in WWE. But now feels like the time. There's a new aggressive side that we've seen in Lashley built over the last number of 8 or 9 months. But in the last sort of few weeks, this has really gone up another level. Lashley feels like an absolute animal in the ring. There is just no stopping him. He is literally a guy that you just look at and say, this guy is destined to go all the way to the top. And there is a fire in Bobby Lashley's eyes that I have not seen since he was the Impact World Champion, because he was dominant in Impact Wrestling. He was a world champion. He felt like a world champion. He was presented like a world champion, as well as a top Bellator fighter. And now in WWE, since his return, which is now, believe it or not, nearly 3 years ago, Bobby Lashley, we came back and see him arrive back. It was kind of a good pop when he arrived back, but then his booking was mediocre, if not very poor. Let's not forget we had Bobby Lashley's sister storyline. We had him aligned with Leah Rush, which was quite fun, but then pointing at his bum all the time, I don't think many of us want to see. I think that was awful booking, to be fair, with Bobby Lashley. He's been lost in the mid-card, holding those mid-card championships like the Intercontinental Championship, but not really presenting much of a threat until he aligned himself with MVP. And it's not the first time he's been with MVP. He was a part of the Beat Down clan in Impact Wrestling, a stable that not only elevated MVP at the time, but it put over the other people in that stable. In fact, that was what elevated Lashley at that point towards the top of the card, to defeating the likes of Kurt Angle and Bobby Roode to become Impact World Champion. He even, I believe it was a Bound for Glory headlined against Drew Galloway. Anyone recognise who that might be and what the potential WrestleMania direction just might be? Hey, we've seen it in Impact Wrestling already. It could be coming to WrestleMania this year. But Bobby Lashley, as I said, he is on a different level. This Bobby Lashley has been, since his championship match against Drew McIntyre last year at Backlash, has lost one match in that time in a singles run where he was pinned, and that arguably was a fluke pin from Riddle at the time. Any other time he's lost matches, it's been DQs, it's been, screwy finishes which has not involved his shoulders pinning to the mat or being submitted. And the time he did lose on that fluke loss to Riddle, he came back and destroyed Riddle for a number of weeks afterwards. In fact, the only way that Riddle was able to win the United States Championship from Bobby Lashley, which he'd held for since Payback, I believe, last year, the end of August, the only way that Riddle could win that championship was defeating John Morrison in a triple threat match where Lashley wasn't involved in the decision. Now, you look at Lashley since then, destroying Drew McIntyre at the end of the Elimination Chamber, allowing The Miz, making that deal with The Miz so he could become champion and Lashley can get his title match. Now Lashley is getting that. Now is the time to pull the trigger. Drew McIntyre wasn't on Raw last night. This feels like a big WrestleMania match, because in the last year, Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley are arguably two of the best booked wrestlers in the entire of WWE, along with Roman Reigns. These two feel like a main event, and to me, I think the time is now. Bobby Lashley has never been WWE Champion. That just seems criminal to me. And now I think it's time to make that sentence a reality. I think it should be as soon as next week on Raw. Let's give Lashley as lengthy a reign as possible. I'm even at the stage with Bobby Lashley where I want to see him retain the championship against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, if that is the match that is going to go down. The thing is, as well, you look with the Hurt Business. I mentioned MVP's work. The Hurt Business, a lot of people were crying for a long time saying Keith Lee should be a part of this stable because it was in the mid-card for a lot of the time and it would become a main event stable. They always had the main event player in Bobby Lashley. It is Lashley's time. It's time for him to become the WWE Champion, and I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I think Monday Night Raw is the perfect spot. It's quite obvious The Miz is a transitional champion. He has won that championship from Drew McIntyre, in my opinion, to get it to Bobby Lashley, to build to a big WrestleMania match between Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. Perhaps even Sheamus will come in and throw his way into the triple threat environment, seeing as the fact that, of course, we did have Drew and Sheamus building up to the Elimination Chamber. You have to also look at the end of Raw last night. Lashley destroying Braun Strowman, and that was an absolute masterclass. Something that you don't usually see from WWE. That was a Paul Heyman style of booking. They are behind Lashley right now. Like I said, he's a monster. He's an animal. He is unstoppable, and this is the Lashley that we want to see and what we need to see, because this Lashley could easily be the top guy in WWE with MVP as the mouthpiece, which arguably would be the weak point to Lashley. But when he does talk, his words are soft, they're subtle, but let me tell you, they are lasting. Just ask The Miz last night on Raw. I like the sound of that new reality TV show. Anyway, that's enough from me anyway from this particular video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, share and subscribe. Sound off in the comments and let me know if you agree, and make sure to know as well that SCW, go and check the playlist section out. There's a lot of new playlists that have been added to the channel, including the Q&As, Ask SCW, SCW interviews, and as well as that also other appearances on other YouTube wrestling content channels as well is available for you to go and check out now. But that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a great day. You'll be watching SCW here on YouTube.